Hi everyone. Today we're doing our first attempt of cooking up this American cut of pork ribs on our Weber barbecue. With a cut like this, you would normally want to make sure that any excess fat is cut off from this top side here. But as you can see, it is pretty clean the way we bought it from the butcher. I've already patted it down with some paper towel just to get any of that excess moisture out. So once that's done, I'm going to flip this bad boy over. And on the underside, there's a really thin membrane on this side of the ribs. So what I'm going to try and do, without stabbing myself in the hands ideally, is try and get my knife under a bit of this membrane. Okay, so it seemed like this section of the ribs has maybe been partially cleaned of that membrane, but further along here it seems like it's still pretty intact. So I'm going to give it another go to see if I can get that membrane up. Yeah, so there you can see my knife is stuck in under the membrane. I'm going to cut along. A little bit of blood coming out there. I'm going to grab a trusty piece of paper towel and try and grab onto this. So now that we've cleaned as much of the membrane off as we can, it's time to season this up. So today we're going to be using this gourmet Texas style barbecue grill rub, and that's just something we've got from Aldi. Always give the rub that you're going to use a bit of a taste before you use it to check for levels of salt and pepper. So we've already used this rub once before, so we have a rough idea of what it's like. It's pretty good on the salt, but a little lighter on the pepper. So I'm going to dredge this all over the ribs, and then I'm going to be adding some more pepper to it. So let's give this a go. Okay. So see, I'm going to add this pretty liberally. Once you think you've got enough rub onto your ribs, add a bit more. So let's go to town. So adding this on the top side first, but I will add that on the other side. Okay, pat that down a little bit. Don't go too crazy. Okay, so you just really want to check there's not any sort of naked spots. I've got a little one here, and you can probably see along that edge there, it's a little light on with the seasoning, so we're just going to go back over. Woohoo! Spice of times. Okay, so just pat those bits in as well. Now before I'm going to flip it, I'll add my pepper to this side. Let's flip this over. Trying to be a bit gentle to not lose too much of that seasoning. And same thing. Nice and liberal. Of course it's curved, so it's going to want to fall into the middle a bit. We'll spread that out with our hands, that's okay. Get that edge. And this edge too. I'm going to spread that out with my hands a bit, because you can see it's kind of formed a little river of rub in there. This side. Okay, and pepper. So now all of our seasoning's applied, but it's really important to let this just get up to room temperature while it's sitting in the rub. This is probably a good time to head out to the Weber, get your charcoal going and set everything up.
So the way we're going to cook this on the Weber today is we're going to use something called the snake method. As you can see here, I'm going to line up all the briquettes in a certain order. They're going to be leaning towards the right, all the way around in a row of 2, and then a row of 1 on top. I have a spot for 10 charcoals on the right hand side, so I'm going to make sure that everything is leaning towards the right. The smoke we're going to use for this cook today is from applewood, as the applewood will go really well with the pork. What you can see here is me grabbing our charcoal chimney. This is what we're going to use to light our 10 remaining briquettes. After about 10 minutes, the charcoals will be all ashed up and glowing white. This is the time to tip it out into the area of the snake we have left free. The fire will then connect onto the other charcoals and slowly burn around the ring. This will control the temperature to around 115 to 130 degrees Celsius, which is the ideal temperature to do low and slow barbecue. We'll then add a water pan filled with boiling water. This will help regulate the temperature within the kettle to ensure a steady cook throughout. I'll then hook up my temperature probe so I can keep an eye on the temperature inside the kettle without having to go outside. Once the kettle has reached roughly 115 to 130 degrees, it's time to chuck on the ribs. The way we are cooking our ribs today is called the 3-step method. First we cook to colour, then we cook to tenderness, and then we cook to appearance. It's going to take roughly 3 hours to get to the mahogany colour we're after, then we're going to wrap them, and then we're going to unwrap them and add our barbecue sauce. This is the app that I use to track the temperature of my Weber. As you can see here, I hold between 125 to 120 degrees. This is ideal temperature for cooking ribs. So it's been 3 hours and it's been cooking at about 120 to 130 degrees for the whole time. So now we're going to have a look at it. Alright, so it's got a nice colour. It's looking a lot darker from the smoke. So this is something that we like to see. So now we're just going to flex it a little bit. You can see that it's still a bit tough. So that's expected. That's the alarm telling me that the lid is off. Alright, so at this stage I'm happy with how that looks. It's got a nice sort of mahogany colour. So now we're going to take it inside, wrap it with some butter, honey and sugar. Okay, so what I've done is I've got a crisscross of foil, so it's going to be really easy to wrap up. Now we're going to start with our butter. So just chuck it on top. Doesn't really matter how much. Thanks, toothbrush. Hopefully you're seeing that's enough. But of course with butter, more is probably better. The next ingredient, good old honey. So just give that a nice drizzle. We've warmed this up in the microwave, so it's really easy to pour on. And then last ingredient, good old brown sugar. Just want to spread that out all over it. Alright. So now the good thing about wrapping this up is it means that we can wrap like this. That's wrapped up really tight. You know it's not going to leak anywhere. It's perfect to go back on.
Alright, so we've just taken the ribs off the Weber. We gave them a bit of a temperature probe while they were still on, and we thought, yep, this is probe ready. So I'll just show you. It's nice and soft. Just do a quick another reading for you now. It has been unwrapped for a minute. So it's showing about 93, 94 degrees, so that's still good. I'll take that out. Now what we've done for the next step is we've heated up some of our favourite barbecue sauce, which is by Stubbs. So I'll just pop that there so you can see. So just pop that in a mug, heat it up in the microwave until it's nice and warm. Doesn't have to be boiling or anything crazy like that. I'm just going to take my basting brush and be really liberal with how I'm applying that as well. So the reason why we're heating this up in the microwave first is so that it's more runny. That can get into all of those nooks and crannies and really penetrate the meat. Just gives everything a bit of a more even flavour as well. So I'm just going to doobie-doo, put that all over. Alright, now that the barbecue sauce is slathered on there, we're going to pop this back into the Weber for about another 15-20 minutes. The reason why it's going back in uncovered is so that that sauce gets nice and sticky and caramelised while letting some excess steam escape. So we're about to go put this back on the Weber. Now is probably a really good time to prepare any sides and do any finishing touches that you need so everything's ready at the same time. Alright, so we've just taken the ribs off for the final time. Really happy with how they've turned out. The colour is looking great. The gloss is really even across the entire rack. So, it's time. Really happy with how that looks. Nice and moist on the inside. Let's see how it tastes. Super happy with that. Nice and sweet with the pepper still coming through. It's really good. Thanks for watching our first attempt at making ribs on our Weber barbecue. I hope this has inspired you to give it a crack yourself. We'll see you next week.